Okay, let's get into Chapter 5, Sharps, Flats, and Naturals. So to start here, let's look at a piano or another keyboard instrument, or perhaps just look at what I have here on slide number 1. So notice, and we did notice this back in chapter 1, but let's notice it again. Notice there are black keys in between each of the white keys. All right, I know you've noticed that before. But let's look a little closer here. Notice that from B to C, there are no black keys, right? There's no black key in between B and C, right? Whether I play it here, 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 or anywhere else. Also notice that there is no black key in between E and F, right? So from here, no black key, E and F. If I play it lower, E and F, no black key in between E and F or B and C, okay? Just keep that in mind. And then let's move on. So now we're going to talk about something called the half step, okay? Before we get into sharps, flats, and naturals, we're going to talk about half steps and whole steps, and then we'll get into it. So the half step, what is that? So the half step can be defined as the smallest difference in pitch on the keyboard. Okay, so B to C, right? Those two white keys that I was just talking about that don't have a black key in between them. B to C, that's actually a half step, okay? And so is E to F. E to F is also a half step. All right? Also, there are many more half steps. All the other half steps besides B to C and E to F involve a black key, right? So remember, from B to C, in between B and C, there's no black key. In between E and F, there's no black key. Those still count as half steps, but all the other half steps will involve a black key. So how about this? If I start on, let's say, G, right here, if I want to play a half step, I have to either play the black key that's above it, here, or the black key that's below it, here, right? So here's a half step below, and here's a half step above, right? So keep in mind that a half step is just the smallest difference in pitch on the keyboard, and B to C is a half step, E to F is a half step, and also all the other half steps aside from B to C and E to F involve a black key, okay? Pause this video and go ahead and play some half steps on the keyboard to become accustomed to their sound, right? Let's just take, how about A? Here's A half step above that will be here, a half step below A is here, right? Let's go to, how about, let's take this black key right here. That's gonna be called a B flat. If I wanna play half step above that, I just have to play the next white key above it. If I go back to B flat, play a half step below, that's gonna be one white key below it, this way, all right? So get accustomed to the sound of the half step. And then let's move on to the whole step on slide number 3. So the whole step is basic. It's just two half steps combined, right? Two half steps combined form a whole step. So how about this? Looking at the graphic here on slide number 3, I see what they're referring to here. Let's take we find 3 black keys, and then go to the one that's right to the left, and that is F, right? This particular note is F. And let's say if I want to play a whole step above F, right? I have to do 2 half steps to get there, right? So from F, a half step above that is going to be the next black key above it right here. And then, so that's 1 half step. And then another half step above this will just be the next white key above that, right? So it's like half step and then half step. That's 2 half steps. Now, if I skip all that and just go from F to G, that's going to be called a whole step, right? Because it's really made of 2 half steps, right? Here's 1 half step, here's the second half step. If I just skip that and go from here to here, that's going to be a whole step, okay? So play some whole steps on the keyboard. Let's go, how about find middle C? If I want to play a whole step above middle C, I got to skip the black key and just go to the next white key, right? That's a whole step. If I want to play a whole step below middle C, what do? Can I just play the next lower white key, like that? No, that would be a half step. Because remember, from B to C is a half step. So what I'd have to do to go a half step under C, I'd have to skip the white key that's right next to it and play the next black key, right? Because that would be 2 half steps. 1 half step, 2 half step. I just skip from here to here. That's a whole step. All right? So whole step simply is just 2 half steps combined. All right. Let's move on to our next slide, number 4. So, okay, let's start now getting into sharps, flats, and naturals. But before we do that, just keep in mind that the black keys are usually named for the white keys that are nearest to them, but with special symbols. So let's take any white key here. Let's take how about A, located right here, right? C, B, A, 3 under middle C, C, B, A. And let's say if I want to play an A sharp, I'll go up to the black key that's right next to A. So if I play that, right, that's going to be called A sharp, right? If I want to play an A flat, then I'm going to go to the next black key that's nearest but under. So that would be A flat. So here's A sharp, back to A, and then A flat. Okay? So keep that in mind. We're going to talk about natural signs a little bit later, more detail. So keep that kind of in the back of your mind. All right. So now let's talk about the sharp sign. So notice, what does the sharp sign even look like, right? By now, hopefully on the previous slide you noticed, it kind of looks like, a lot of people say it looks like a hashtag, and it kind of does look like that. So the sharp sign. So now, keep in mind, you can notate the black key immediately to the right of a given white key by adding a sharp sign in front of the note, okay? So in the example we have here on slide number 5, we see a C note. In fact, it's a middle C note. And that corresponds to this key right here, middle C, right? Now, if I want to make this C into a C sharp, all I have to do is put this sharp sign in front of the C, as it's depicted here and on the slide. So we have C, and that corresponds to this key, and then C sharp. That corresponds to this key, the one that's directly to the right of this C here, right? So C, and then directly to the right is C sharp on the black key. Okay? Play those. Go like this. Go, here's my middle C, and then here's C sharp. Now, we say C sharp when referring to this key, right? But the symbol, the sharp symbol, is always written to the left of the note. So don't let that confuse you. You might be tempted to say sharp C instead of C sharp. But the way we communicate this is just we say C sharp, okay? Also notice that from C to C sharp, is that a half step or a whole step, right? It's a half step, right? Because from C to C sharp, there's no key in between that. It's the smallest interval. So we can say that the sharp sign raises the pitch of a note by a half step. Okay, so commit that to memory. A sharp sign raises the pitch of a note by a half step. Let's look at a musical example now. So let's look at slide number 6. So the song Do Re Mi, also on page 246 in the songbook if you're interested in learning the rest of it. So this is really just the 6 measures of it. Okay, just took a little excerpt out of it. So let's see here. Look at this little piece of music here. Notice that how many measures do we have? Total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Notice though, in the 6th measure, we have a sharp sign, right? So just notice that, and then let's look at our next slide here. And so, how would we play this? This little at least measures 5 and 6, right? So we can see we can see on the graphic it corresponds. The notation corresponds to the keyboard. So notice, okay, our first note here is A, and then we have D, right, in between 2 black keys, and then what, E, and then after E, we have F sharp, so we have to play the black key that is to the right of the white key F, right here, right, and then we have G, and then A. So in this little tiny excerpt, we start and end on the same note. So we have A, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Okay, see if you can play that on your keyboard. All right, A, do, 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 do. All right, and if you're interested, you can try playing the rest of it by looking it up on page 246 in the songbook. Okay.